All right, so today we're going to be looking at some common mistakes in English, right?
Yeah.
These sources that we've got, um, they all kind of agree that there's these little errors that people make that make them sound less fluent.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And even small mistakes can sometimes affect how natural you sound.
Yeah, right? So if you want to speak English more naturally,
Yeah.
which I think is what everybody wants,
Yeah,
then we got to dive into these common mistakes.
exactly. And actually the good news is that they're super common, these mistakes.
Yeah,
Everybody makes them.
yeah.
So if you can kind of iron out those little wrinkles, then you can really improve the flow of your spoken English.
Okay, so let's look at the first one then. This one is one that I think a lot of people struggle with, past versus present perfect tense.
Oh yeah.
I have seen him yesterday.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot, and I think it probably comes from people trying to translate too directly from their native language,
Right.
where the grammar might be a little bit different. So in English, if you were talking about a specific time in the past,
Okay.
you would use the simple past tense. So it would be, I saw him yesterday.
I saw him yesterday.
Exactly.
Okay, so specific time in the past.
Yes.
Simple past.
hmm
Now, what about the present perfect then?
So the present perfect, you want to think of it like as kind of a bridge between the past and the present.
Okay. Yep.
So I have seen that movie, for example,
Yeah.
means at some point in your life, you have had the experience of watching that movie.
Right.
But we don't know exactly when, and it's not really important.
Okay.
It just means it's something that you've done in your life. So
Yeah.
the present perfect kind of connects the past to the present.
All right.
It's like saying, this has happened in my life and it still kind of matters now.
Yeah, like it's formed who I am or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so one of our sources has this great example. I have finished my work yesterday versus I finished my work yesterday.
Right. So again, if you're talking about completing your work yesterday,
Yeah.
you would want to use the simple past tense
Mm-hmm.
because it happened at a specific time yesterday.
Okay, so I finished my work yesterday.
Exactly.
Okay, great. And I'm guessing that a lot of people probably make that mistake.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's move on then, shall we? And take a look at prepositions because, oh my goodness, these can be tricky.
They can be real slickery little things, can't they?
Yeah, for sure. And this source here has this example. I am married with Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
So in this case, a correct preposition to use is I am married to Sarah.
Show Sarah. Yeah, exactly.
Married with,
No.
married to,
Married to who?
okay, why are prepositions so hard?
Well, I think one reason is that they often don't translate directly from one language to another.
Mm-hmm.
So what might sound right in your native language could be totally wrong in English.
Okay.
Yeah, and this source actually have a good example of that, too. It says, she is interested for music
Oh, yeah.
versus she is interested in music.
In music, okay.
Yeah, so you can see how if you were coming from a language where you use for in that context,
Yeah.
it would be very easy to make that mistake.
So it's a direct translation thing, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of the time, yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully people can avoid that one. And let's see what we've got next. Oh, this is a good one. Much versus many.
Oh, yeah.
I have a much friends.
Yeah, that's a classic.
I have many friends.
Many friends, yeah.
So what's the rule with this one then?
Okay, so this is all about whether the noun is countable or uncountable.
Okay.
If you can count it, you use many.
Right.
If you can't count it, you use much.
So you can count friends, but you wouldn't count advice.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can't have 5 advices.
No.
Or 10 advices. You
Okay.
could have a lot of advice
Mhm.
or a piece of advice.
So much advice.
Much advice, yeah.
Many friends.
Many friends.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is when you break it down like that.
But I'm guessing people still mess it up,
Oh, all the time. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very easy to get them mixed up.
especially if you're speaking quickly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the flow of conversation, it's easy to make those little slips.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've got time for one more before the break. So let's tackle this one. He don't versus he doesn't.
Ah, yes. This is one that even native speakers sometimes get wrong.
Really?
Yeah, especially in informal spoken English.
Wow. Okay.
But the rule is actually very simple. And the present, in simple tense, he, she, or it takes doesn't.
Okay.
Well, we, and they take don't.
Okay.
So he doesn't like coffee.
He doesn't like coffee.
Exactly.
Right. And I guess it would be he don't like coffee if you're
If you're not speaking properly.
not speaking properly. Yeah. Okay. So that's a nice, easy rule to remember.
Yeah, it is. And thankfully, it's one that you can apply in a lot of different situations.
Cool. Well, that's all we've got time for in this part of the show. We'll be right back after the break with more tips on how to speak English more naturally.
So before the break, we were looking at he don't and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And, that actually brings up something really interesting about English, which is how important context is.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like with those homophones that are like, there and there. You
Yeah.
can often tell which one to use just by looking at the meaning of the sentence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so context is everything, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let's move on, shall we, to something else that can really make your English sound more natural, and that is contractions.
Oh, yeah. Contractions.
They're
Yeah.
everywhere in English.
They are. They're super common.
Yeah, and native speakers use them all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you want to sound more fluent and more natural,
Yeah.
then you need to be using contractions as well.
Okay, so our source material has given us some great examples here.
Okay.
I cannot go versus I can't go, she will not come versus she won't come.
Yeah. Those are good ones.
So it's such a small difference,
Yeah.
but it makes such a big impact.
It really does. And, what's interesting about contractions is that they not only make your speech sound more natural, but they also help you to speak at a more natural pace
Oh.
because they kind of blend the words together.
Yeah.
And create a smoother flow.
So they're actually helping you with your pronunciation as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. It's a really useful tip, I think.
Okay, so contractions, they're our friends.
They are our friends.
Use them.
Use them.
Okay, great. Well, let's move on to something else then, shall we? And this is something that a lot of people might not think about, but it can actually make a big difference to your fluency, and that is articles.
Oh, yeah. Articles, those little words as a
Yeah, they seem so small.
Yeah.
But they're actually really important.
They are. They can really change the meaning of a sentence.
Okay, so let me give you an example from the source material. I saw a cat in the garden.
Oh.
Now, if we remove the articles, it becomes I saw cat in garden.
Yeah. And it sounds really strange.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the meaning is not as clear.
No.
We don't know if you're talking about a specific cat or any cat.
Right, yeah.
And we don't know if it's a specific garden or just any garden.
Yeah, so those little words, they're doing a lot of work.
They're giving us a lot of information.
Yeah, okay, so articles are important.
Articles are very important.
Got it. What else have we got? Oh, this is a good one. Phrasal verbs.
Oh, yeah. Phrasal verbs, love them or hate them. They're a big part of English.
They are, and I know that they can be really difficult for learners.
Yeah, they could be tricky because they often have very idiomatic meanings.
Right, like you can't always guess the meaning just from the individual words.
Exactly.
That-
Yeah.
that-
For example, the source material mentions look up,
Okay.
which can mean to search for information, but it can also mean to admire someone
Oh, wow. Okay.
or to visit someone you haven't seen in a while.
So many different meanings.
Yeah, and the only way to know which meaning is intended is to look at the context.
Yeah, to understand the context, yeah.
Exactly.
And then to make things even more complicated,
Yeah.
some phrasal verbs are separable and some are inseparable.
Right. You can put the object in between the verb and the preposition with some of them,
Yeah.
but not with others.
So confusing.
It is. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's no real rule to follow.
Oh, no.
You just have to kind of learn them through exposure and practice.
Okay, so lots of listening and reading then.
Definitely. Yeah. The more you expose yourself to English, the better you'll get at understanding phrasal verbs.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess it's just one of those things you have to learn as you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. But don't be afraid to experiment with them.
Okay.
The more you use them, the more natural they will become.
Great advice.
Thanks.
All right, well, moving on then, let's talk about transitions.
Oh, yeah. Transitions.
These are really important for making your English sound smooth and coherent.
They're like the glue that holds your ideas together.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So they help the listener to follow your train of thought
Right.
and to understand the relationships between your ideas.
So they're kind of like signposts.
Exactly. Yeah. They're guiding the listener through your speech.
Okay, cool. And so the source material gives us some examples of common transitions,
Okay.
like however, therefore, in addition, and on the other hand.
Yeah. Those are all good ones. And what's interesting about transitions is that they can also convey subtle shades of meaning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, for example, however, suggests a contrast or a qualification,
Okay.
while therefore indicates a conclusion or a result.
So you're not just connecting ideas, you're actually adding extra information.
Exactly. Yeah, you're giving the listener more clues about how to interpret what you're saying.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's all about being precise and nuanced with your language.
Yeah, and I guess that's what makes you sound more sophisticated as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, using transitions effectively can really elevate your spoken English.
Okay, so transitions are important.
Transitions are very important.
I'm getting the message.
Good.
Okay, well, I think we're just about out of time for this part of the show, so we'll be back in a moment to wrap things up. So we've talked about a lot of things, haven't we? Like phrasal verbs and articles and transitions.
Hmm.
But I think we need to look at one more thing
Okay.
before we finish this deep dive.
Yeah, sounds good.
And this is something that even really advanced learners sometimes get wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's worth looking at.
Okay, what is it?
The source material calls it out. I agree with you.
Oh, yeah, instead of I agree with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
Yeah, and it's such a small mistake.
Yeah,
But it can make your English sound a bit strange.
it does. Yeah, it doesn't sound quite right.
No, so why do you think people say that then? I agree.
I think it's because in some languages they use a similar structure with a helping verb,
Oh, right.
but in English, agree is a verb.
Yeah.
It's not an adjective.
Uh-huh.
So you don't need the am in front of it.
Okay, so just keep it simple.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. And actually, while we're talking about sounding natural,
Yeah.
let's go back to something we talked about earlier, which is contractions.
Oh, yeah, contractions, so
If
important.
they're like the key to fluent English.
Absolutely. If you want to sound like a native speaker,
Yeah.
you got to use contractions.
Yeah. The source material has some great examples here. I cannot go versus I can't go.
Yeah.
She will not come versus she won't come.
Perfect example.
Yeah, such a small difference, but
Huge difference.
yeah, huge difference.
Yeah, it really makes your English sound so much smoother and more natural.
So I guess the takeaway here is don't be afraid to use contractions.
Yeah, exactly. Embrace the contractions.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything we wanted to talk about today.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good deep dive.
Yeah, it has. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Well, I just want to say that, learning a language takes time and effort,
Yeah.
and it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how we learn.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to experiment
Yeah,
and to practice speaking as much as possible.
absolutely. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
And listen to as much English as you can.
Yeah, definitely surround yourself with the language.
Watch movies, listen to music, read books,
Podcasts,
podcasts. Yeah.
all of it.
The more you immerse yourself,
Yeah,
the better your English will become.
exactly. And have fun with it.
Yeah, have fun.
It's a journey.
It is.
Enjoy the ride.
I like that. So listeners, what's one thing you learned today that you're going to try to use in your English this week?
Yeah, pick one thing and focus on it.
Yeah. Make a conscious effort to improve in that area.
And celebrate your progress.
Yeah. Every little step counts.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all from us for today, but we'll be back soon with another deep dive into the fascinating world of language and knowledge.
Until next time.